That was CSX loaded coal train south in 70607, and I've been waiting on him because I knew he was coming because I've been monitoring his VHF radio traffic, and that is what today's video is about, so stay tuned. Railroads use both bands VHF and UHF for communications. VHF is most widely used for communications between the dispatcher and the trains and the ground crews, and for trains calling signals and the transmission of defect detectors. Both VHF and UHF can be monitored by most modern scanners. Fixed radios, or radios that can only take one band or the other, can obviously only monitor either VHF or UHF, and we'll talk about those radios in just a minute. Most railroads that you're going to be fanning will either have a road channel or a road and a secondary channel. Most class 1s are going to have both a road channel and a secondary channel. Your road channel is where you're going to hear the trains calling signals. It's where you're going to hear the defect detectors and the initial dispatcher to train communications. Secondary channels are going to be the channels that the dispatcher will request the train to switch to channel 2 to receive either train orders, slow orders, or any other type of information. So basically what you need to do is try to find, obviously the line that you're going to be fanning, and if you can go to, there's several places on the internet that you can locate the frequencies for the railroad you're going to be rail fanning on. I found a very good location to start my monitoring of radio frequencies to rail fan. I've got public access parking. This is an abandoned private spur line. I'm a good distance away from the main line. I've got a nice crossing up there for some horn action on my videos, and I've got a milepost marker. And I'm right in between one of the many rail side rail towers. The rail towers are basically about every 20 miles to help with the communication between trains and dispatchers. So we'll look at one of those towers now. This is a typical radio tower. I hope you can see it okay. It's standing at the old location for the old Clinchfield Depot in Marion, North Carolina on CSX's Blue Ridge subdivision.
We're at milepost 221 on CSX's Blue Ridge subdivision, Old Clinchfield route in Marion, North Carolina. And by far the most effective way of tracking trains with your scanner or radio is when they call signals. This is signal 221.0. Most signals have a name of their own. Some engineers will call the signal by the milepost. For example, they would clear this signal as clear signal 221.0. Or 99% of the time, that engineer will call the signal by name. And the name of this signal is Jacktown. So the engineer, or I shouldn't say engineer, the conductor would clear this signal as clear signal Jacktown. Another great source of information when using a scanner or radio to monitor rail traffic is a passing sighting. This is the west end of Clinch Cross passing sighting on Norfolk and Southern's S-line. And you can see there's a signal there, and just behind me around the bend there is the west end of Clinch Cross. Now today we won't see the trains pass, but we will see Norfolk and Southern's eastbound 123. He just got track orders to proceed from this siding on to the S52 after meeting a work train which is at the far east end of this siding. So we'll wait for 123 now. This is Norfolk Southern's defect detector at milepost 99 on the S-line. Some railroads' defect detectors give off different information. Norfolk Southern, at this particular defect detector, just announces whether there's any defects. CSX will give a total length and a total amount of axles, but all defect detectors announce their milepost. Another great way to monitor train traffic. Okay, we just heard our radio traffic, and a southbound man has just cleared the signal at Jacktown, the one signal we just looked at, so it shouldn't be too long he'll be right here with us. Also hear some radio traffic from the Norfolk and Southern. They have a couple trains meeting on the other end of the county. you can set your priorities on your scanners to, well, obviously set one channel to prioritize over the other. I have it set to prioritize Norfolk and Southern right now, so that's why I'm hearing it over the CSX traffic that we're waiting on now. Now the fixed band radios, you can also set priority on those too for particular channels if you want to make sure you don't miss something on the particular line that you're watching for. And there goes our signals, or crossing gates rather. Alright, now we can talk a little bit more about radios and scanners. Okay, now we'll talk a little bit about scanners and fixed frequency radios. This is one of my favorite scanners. I use one in my home, one in my building out here, and one in each of my cars. This is a Uniden Bearcat BC 350A. Now this will monitor both VHF, very high frequencies, and UHF, which is ultimately high frequencies. Excellent for rail fanning. Of course, VHF is what you'll be most concerned with. Railroads, most of the time, their first and second channels are going to be VHF in the 134 to 174 megahertz. So these are perfect for that. They have a little stand that goes on the bottom of them. I've taken this one off because it mounts up in under a cabinet here in the building. And it has a jack on the back where you can use regular 110 power, or they have a transformer. Well, not a transformer, I don't know what it's called. A thing to plug in there to where you can use 12 volt out of your car. It's kind of like a cigarette lighter, but not exactly the same. Excellent radio for monitoring the railroad. And there's tons of scanners out there. If you go look on Amazon, there's literally thousands of different handheld scanners, tabletop scanners that you can use. They're all pretty well going to operate the same way. The only difference is that I think you're probably going to see is some of the cheaper imported stuff. Well, most all these are made out of the country. You're going to see that they're just not as durable. And talking about durability, I love the Motorola radios. These are fixed channels. In other words, they've been they don't scan. They scan what frequencies you've programmed into them, but you can't program them in the field like you can most scanners. So these you have to either take them to a radio shop somewhere and have them programmed, or if you buy one off of eBay or somewhere, sometimes the seller will program them for you. One quick note, you need to make sure that you have them programmed not to transmit. You definitely don't want to program a railroad frequency in there and then wind up hitting that button and transmitting, because they can tell exactly where you're at, and the railroad and the FCC is not going to be happy. On the side of this radio, you can plug in headphones. It has a clip on the back to go on your belt, and this whole thing here on the back is actually a battery, and you just drop it down in your charger, and it has the antenna mounted onto it, what the old time people call a rubber ducky antenna. Excellent radio, works great in 40 to 45 mile range. It all depends. The railroad transmits off of a system's basically just line of sight. So the more obstructions you have between you and a tower, the less you're going to hear, but those work out well. This is another Motorola. It's just a little side mount, like a pager, but not really. It's called a Miniature 5. You'll see a lot of volunteer firefighters have these. You can program up to about 6 channels on them with one a priority. I've got one of these programmed for the railroad. Again, great radio, very durable, small in size. You can clip it on your belt, still be able to carry your camera and everything with you. Now all three of these I bought online off of a auction site called propertyroom.com. And there's several more those type auctions that I'll leave in the description, so you guys can pick some of these radios up at a real good cost. This scanner, they're about $19 or so on the auction sites. They're $89 or $90 new. These little suckers new are several $100s, probably close to $500 new. And I picked it up off of Property Room for about $30, including shipping. This CP200 XLS, I picked it up off of Property Room also. and I think it was about $50, $55 with shipping and everything. So those are excellent radios for you to use, but make sure whatever you get, it's capable of VHF frequency 134 to 174, and that'll take care of everything you need. So anyway, thanks guys for watching.